Hey everybody, welcome to today's Java deep dive. This is the second video of the Java tutorial series. In this video, I'm going to explain you what exactly the main method in Java is. I'll explain you all the terms associated with it. All right, this is one of the coding interview questions that you may get asked, and trust me, not a lot of people know how to explain this, right? They do not know what main method actually is, like the meaning of all these terms like static, void, and why it is main and all, right? So let's get started. Whenever you run a program from the command line or IDE, I haven't shown you guys how to run program in the command line, but we'll be covering that in this video as well, right? So whenever you run a program from the command line or an IDE, the Java Virtual Machine JVM looks for this exact method, right? Public static void main. This exact method a signature in the class you told it to launch, right? So if it can't find, you'll get a runtime error that no such method error or something like that, right? It will give you an error. So if you just rename this as something else, let's say pane, you see this green button got disabled and you can't run it, right? But if you just rename it as main again, you'll see this button is lightened up again, right? So just make sure that your method is named as main and it starts with small m, right? You can't type it like capital main. First of all, it is same as your class name, and the difference between the class names and the function names is that your function names has to start with a lowercase, whereas your class names has to start with uppercase letters, right? In Java, both this main and main are different, right? So this main is different from main, okay? So just make sure that you do not name your main method anything else. It has to be main, right? And also because Java is case sensitive, so that is the reason why this main is different from this main. Okay, let's just remove this. Now, marking this main as public ensures, right, this is public, it ensures that this method can be called, right, outside of this class. So what it means is it ensures that the JVM and can see and invoke it, right? Because your compiler has to have a main method, because it will be looking for this main method. So it has to be public. If you make this, let's say, private, right, if first it gives you an error that method main does not have a signature public, because by convention it has to be public, right? And if you see here, this file is in the editor is not runnable, this button is disabled again, right? So it has to be public so that it can be called from JVM to run it. Now, static keyword means in general in Java, it means that this belongs to the class, right? In the upcoming videos, you'll see if we have to make a use of this class, you'll have to create an object, right? But when you declare something as a static, that means this particular thing, this belongs to this class and not to any particular instance or the object of the class. And why it matters, at startup there are no objects yet, right? So when your program is just starting, you do not have any objects, right? You need an entry point to start your program, and only after that you can create objects, right? So the JVM invokes main method without creating an instance of your class. So it does not create an object for this main class, but rather it just runs this method and you can create objects or do whatever you want inside this main method, right? Since the JVM hasn't constructed any objects, it needs a method that can run without an object. By declaring main as a static, Java lets you run the code at the class level. Okay. Now the third thing is void. This is the type of this function, right? Void means that this method does not return any value, right? You can have different types, such as int, which will mean that it will give you an integer or a number for simplicity, right? But our main method is not going to return anything, right? So it does not have any return type. And do not worry if you do not understand what I'm saying, what I'm blabbering about, because in the upcoming videos you'll be way more clear with how things work in Java, right? I'll explain you guys everything in depth. So the Java virtual machine, the JVM, doesn't expect main to hand back any data. Once it finishes, the process either exits normally or through an exception. If you remember from the previous video, when we didn't have any print statement here and we ran this program, it gave us this process finished with exit code 0, right? And this is specific to IntelliJ. But you see, there is nothing else that gets returned from this main method, right? Unless you print something, right? So if you print it, it gives you hello world, but you just cannot return something like this, right? So it gives you an error, right? So let's just remove it, and let's try to type return, and let's return 1, and it says that it gives you an error, cannot return a value from a method with void result type, right? So because it is void, you cannot return anything, and it has to be void, it cannot be int, otherwise you cannot run your program, because main has to be void. Okay, so let's just undo these changes, and right, so public means that this method can be invoked from by JVM. Static means that this method can be called without having to create the objects of a class. And then void means that it does not have any return type, that it will not return any value. Then main is the name, right? And then we have the last part, fourth part, which is string, and there are these some square brackets, and then we have args, right? So what this means is that you can pass command line arguments to your program, right? So what I mean by that is I have only shown you guys how to run your Java file from inside of this IDE, right? So you see it prints hello world here, but you can also run your Java code from a terminal, right? So what we'll do is I have this main class, let's delete it, right? And let's open this main file, this main.java, and go to Finder. Actually just open this src folder, right? And let's open a terminal here. Okay, so we are at the src location, and let's list the files that we have. We have main.java here, right? So there are two ways how you can run your Java code from inside of this terminal, right? So we have this hello world here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to write Java and main and then .java. So you have to specify the full name of the file along with the extension. So if you write Java main.java, so it gives you the output that you were expecting, whatever you have put in this print statement. And do not worry about this percentage sign. That's because that denotes that your cursor is on the same line. This is something that I explained in the first video. So if you just put in ln here and run it again, you see hello world, and this time we do not have the percent sign. And let's ls again, and you see we still have only one main.java file. So if you remember in the first video, I told you guys that JVM actually compiles your code into bytecode, and then that bytecode is run on your computer, right, on your machine. So what this Java command does is it directly runs your Java code without giving you the compiled code, right? But if you need that compiled code, what you can do is you can write Java C, which means Java compiler, and write the name of your file again, main.java. And now you see it didn't give you any output, right? It didn't give you any output. It just we entered a command, it ran, it didn't give any error or anything, no warning, and it just successfully exited. But if you list the files here now, you see in addition to main.java that we previously had, we have main.java and then main.class, right? So this is the bytecode that I was talking about, right? So this bytecode will now run. So in this step where I ran Java main.java, it directly ran my program. It did compile the program, but it didn't give me the compiled file, the compiled code. But using the Java compiler command, I can run the file and I can expect that, okay, Java compiler will give me a class file, which is my bytecode, right? So if you've opened this, you would not understand anything because it is the compiled code and it is machine readable and not for us, right? But you can read this main.java that we have here. right? Now how you run this? So again, write main, right? So you write Java, and now without specifying the what do you say, the extension of your file, you just write Java, right? And then main. So it knows that, okay, it has to run this main.class, right? And I can show you guys. So let's say hello world again here. Okay, so if I write Java main.java, it should have this hello world again now. You see hello world again, but my main.class file is from before, when I made these changes, like before when I actually compiled this again, right? So if I just run Java main again, you see it still gives you hello world, right? So you use Java command to run the file, so it knows that, okay, I have to run main.java. You specify your file name. If you specify the compiled class name, you do not need to specify the extension, so it knows that, okay, I have to run the class file. So it runs the older file that we had, right? This main.class here. In order to compile the class, you use the Java C, and then again you type the full name of your file, right? main.java. So it compiles your file again. We know how to compile our code. Now let's use this string args. This is what I was explaining, and this is what I meant to explain actually. So what we'll do is if, and do not worry if you do not understand what I'm writing right now. So we'll just say if args dot length, okay, length is greater than 0. So we'll say, let's just copy paste, cut paste this, and so what we'll do is we'll print what is inside our arguments, right? So we'll say let's say hello, and I will say args of 0, and otherwise we'll say, and there's a shortcut for that. I think it was s out. No, it was something, I just can't remember. No, okay, I do not remember that, but it's fine. So we'll say hello world. Now how do you run it? Let's go to our terminal again, and let's say write Java parameter after the class name. So let's say coding, and you see hello coding again, right? So whatever you passed in the arguments, it gets printed here. So this is where we are printing it. So if I just change it again, and let's give some space here so that we can read it. So let's say what should we print? Let's say hello world again. Yeah, right. Okay, so it says hello world again, so you can pass anything that you want, right? So hello good again, hello bad again. Okay, so this is how you pass the arguments. So it's you're going to use these arguments not a lot of times. Most of the times it will like everything will be inside your code. You'll be taking input from the users directly from the inside of the program, right? So but if you need to pass the arguments, this is how you do it. So of the Java keyword, the file name, and then the argument that you have to pass. You can pass multiple arguments as well. So if you, let's say after this we'll put a space here, and we'll say args and 1, and let's say we say good bad. So you say hello good again bad, hello good again bad. So this is how you can pass arguments to the Java program. So I hope you guys are clear with the what this main method actually means, the meaning of each and every word here, right? And now you guys know how to run your programs from a terminal instead of an IDE. So I think that is it for this video. Hope you guys like it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.